What's up, guys? It's Isaac at Tobacco Road Harley Davidson here in Raleigh, North Carolina, with your new bike of the week, the 2022 Sportster 48. Now, right beside me here, I also have the Iron 883, which is what we're going to be using as a reference today. So since we already did the video on the 883, the 48 is pretty similar to it, a lot of the same features, but wanted to make sure you had them both side by side. So that way you can see everything that makes the Sportster 48 what it is, and how these two Sportsters best compare to each other, so you can help better find out which one's the best Sportster for you. And if you stick around, you'll find out there's a lot more that separates these two bikes besides the 883 and the 1200cc Evolution motors. So let's go ahead and dive into your new bike of the week. So previously we did our video on the Iron 883, and we talked about how this was just an awesome bike that if you just wanted something simple, stripped down, and ready to get you out on the road, then this bike is the bike for you. Now it is the smaller of the two Evolution motors, but it is still plenty to get you out there and get you going. Whereas this bike is a little bit more bare bones, the Sportster 48 is a little more stripped down, but also with more fun features on it as well. So it has that appearance of a street brawler with that fat front tire and that 2.2 gallon peanut tank and the underturned mirrors. But it's also gonna have a few more fancier features such as that 1200cc motor, keyless entry, and a little more upgraded rear suspension. So I'm going to show you everything that makes the Sportster 48 stand out, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you that quick side-by-side comparison of these two bikes. So let's get right into it. So for 2022, the 48 is offered in three distinct colors. Of course, we've got the vivid black, then you have the white sand pearl, and the one we have here today, the reef blue, which if you get this bike out in the sunshine, this color really starts to pop. Now up in the front, you'll see probably one of the most distinguishable features is that fat front tire. So compared to the skinnier tires of some of the other bikes and the other Sportsters, they're going to give it a little bit classier look, but this fat front tire is going to give you a lot more aggressive styling, and it's going to give you a little bit more contact on the road. So it's going to be a little bit smoother of a ride and a little bit better performance in less than ideal situations. You've got a standard single front rotor, then you've got that black and chrome forward suspension. Nothing super fancy here, but it's going to do its job very, very well. You've got a classic halogen headlight front and center lighting up the way. And then you've got your bars. Now these bars are held on with a speedometer clamp. So you've got that analog speedometer, and then you do have the miles on the bike, trip A, trip B, your time, and your gear / your RPMs, all of which are operated on the top end of the horn button. You've got a cable clutch, and then you've got the hydraulic brakes. This bike is keyless entry, so all you have to do is have the little fob in your pocket or have it close to the bike, and then you can just hit the switch and have this bike come right on. The mirrors are underturned to give it that little bit more sporty look. And then you have that classic 2.2 gallon peanut tank. And this bike is designed for those more quicker trips or that everyday commuting, urban kind of driving. So you're gonna find it's still gonna get you a pretty good range though. And right below that is the 1200cc Evolution air-cooled motor. If you know the Sportsters, then you know the Sportsters come with that Evolution motor. Fantastic powerhouse. Most everybody loves it. You've got the 883 version that you see on the Iron 883, and then this is the 1200 version that's going to be found on the 48. Now there is the Sportster S with the liquid-cooled RevMax 1250 motor. Now that's also an awesome powerhouse, but this one's definitely been around for quite a while. You've got kind of a bobber-style air cleaner cover, and this motor is going into a 5-speed transmission and a 2-to-2 exhaust. You've got a little bit more of a flat seat with a little bit higher seat height. So with the lower tank and the flat seat, you really feel like you're sitting on top of this bike a lot more than compared to the 883, where you feel like you're sitting in the bike more so. This bike does have the forward controls with the rubber covered foot pegs and the little scrape pegs on the end to help give you a little bit more feedback so you know when you're starting to make more contact with the road. And this bike does have the upgraded emulsion adjustable rear suspension that's going to give you a little bit smoother of a ride. Nothing too fancy in the rear. You've got a reflector on the back of that chopped fender, and then you've got your brake light, turn light combos on either side with a side mounted license plate on the left. So one of the biggest differences you're going to see between these two bikes, of course, is the overall style of these bikes. So as I said before, this bike really makes you feel like you're sitting on top of it more so. So it's about a half an inch taller seat height, but these bars are a little bit lower down, so you're going to feel like you're really going into this bike more so. And then you've also got a little bit forward controls, so you can really sit back and kind of relax on this bike a little bit more so. But you can really get onto this bike more. And a pretty flat, basic seat for it. Now if we go over to the Iron 883, we'll see it's a little bit more cushiony of a seat, and we're going to sit in it a little bit more. So this tank's a little bit taller and 3.3 gallons. and can hold about another gallon more than that one. Then it has the mid controls, so that way I'm really sitting a little bit more in this bike, and I'm a little bit closer to it. This bike does have a little bit different pegs that are a little bit smaller, but they still have those little scrape pegs on them. While both of these speedometers will give you the same readout and have basically the same overall appearance, this one is tilted forward a little bit more, so it's a little bit more even with you, whereas that one is kind of laid down a little bit more so. The Iron 883 is all blacked out and has a little bit of that wrinkle black on it as well, whereas this one has a lot more gloss black and more chrome highlights, such as on the top of the motor and on the heat shields. So let's go ahead and show you the stats of these two bikes. So the biggest thing separating these two, as I said before, is the 1200cc motor on the 48 and then the 883 on the Iron 883. Now there is the 2.1 gallon tank on the 48 versus the 3.3 gallon on the Iron 883. Now you are getting an estimated 48 miles per gallon on the 48 and an estimated 51 miles per gallon on the 883. Now the 48 is actually lighter at 556 pounds versus the 564 pounds of running weight. The seat height is 26.2 compared to the lower seat height of 25.7. Both bikes are getting about 27 degrees of lean, and so far as performance goes, the 883 is getting 54 pounds-feet of torque, whereas the 48 is getting 73 pounds-feet of torque. So the 48 is a little bit lighter, a little bit taller, getting you a little bit better performance and a more muscly, aggressive look. And also there's the security on these two bikes. So the Iron 883, it has a key with it, and that key is used to start the bike. So you would turn the key down here, and then you can select the run position, and then you can go ahead and start this bike. And you just have to remember, when you're done with this bike, go ahead and take your key with you. Now on the 48, it has a key, but it also has a fob with it as well. So both these bikes do have a keyed fork lock, but this bike has the fob, so that way you can do keyless entry. So there is no there is no ignition switch down at the bottom that you have to turn on. You can simply put your key fob in your pocket, walk up to the bike, hit the on switch, and then start it up and go. So you can get on and off this bike a little bit quicker, and you won't have to worry about forgetting the fob. So now if you're looking for a basic, minimalist motorcycle from Harley Davidson that is going to get you out on the road and get you riding, I would highly recommend the Iron 883. This bike is blacked out, comes in cool colors, and has everything you need to get you out there riding. It's comfortable, and you'll find with the power, it's plenty enough to get you going and keep you pretty satisfied. And another of the perks is that you do have a little bit larger fuel tank. But if you want something a little more muscly, something that you can really attack the road a little bit stronger on, and something that you might think looks a little bit better, then I would recommend the 48. This bike has a little bit better performance, and you're really going to feel that on the road. This bike's got plenty get up and go. The only downside to this bike is that small fuel tank, so it is going to throw in some more stops if you're trying to do that state-to-state driving. But for rips around town, bar hopping, daily commutes, this bike is going to do plenty fine either way. But if you got to make a couple extra gas stops on your drive to Daytona, then that's just something you'll have to do. And it's going to be a little bit more comfortable of a ride too. So you do have this forward controls, so you can kind of put your legs out a little bit better, so you're not saying you're cramped on that bike, but your knees aren't as close to you. So if you're a little bit taller, then you might like this bike a little bit better. You do have that upgraded rear suspension that I talked about, giving you a little bit nicer ride. Then that larger front tire is actually going to help you out quite a bit as well. But if you want simple, stripped down motorcycle from Harley Davidson, and you love the air-cooled Evolution motor, then you can't go wrong with either of these bikes. From here, it's just personal preference, and coming down here, throwing a leg over both, and seeing which one speaks to you better. So we hope we see you here at Tobacco Road Harley Davidson sometime soon, so that way we can help better guide your journey to your new motorcycle and possibly your new Sportster. So, as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.